Hello everyone, welcome back to Tinateach IELTS 4.0 to 5.5. Today's lesson is a continuation of Unit 1, Great Places Listening. Alright, we're going to be taking a look at how to fill a form and talking about a place that we've visited before. So let's move on to the first part. Now, before I go into the form section, I want you to take a look at the things that you need to pay attention to. Which blanks do you think you need to? Number 1, write a number only. Number 2, only understanding the words. And number 3, write both numbers and words. Okay, so keep these in mind because this is our form. We have a rental, to rent something, application, to apply for a rental, and a form is a form that you need to fill in the blanks, give the owner, right, or the sellers your information so you can rent something. First off, with a property address. Property means the thing that you want to rent. Address is where it's at. So do we only need to understand, or do we need to write in words or numbers or both? Well, it is both, okay? Because when you put in the address, usually you would have the street name, so that's a text, and then you would have the street numbers or the building numbers, so that is numbers. This is both text and numbers. You get what we're trying to do here? Next up is the rent amount, how much you need to pay to rent. This is strictly numbers. Next up is the move-in date. Because this application form is for an apartment to rent, and it's asking when are you going to move into the apartment. So this can either be a text or a number, depending on your preference, if you want to write numbers as text or text as numbers, but usually this is numbers only. Next up, agent and referred by. Agent is someone who helps you, the third person to do something. Let's say that you went to a company that specializes in matching landlords and buyers, or helping people find good apartments to rent. And the word referred, meaning that someone would tell you that, oh, this is good, like you should go to the seller, you should rent this out. So that's what I mean by referred. Now obviously you go with their name, so this is text only. Okay, next up is applicant information. Applicant refers to you. You, the applicant, are filling out the application form. So we have the name, text only, obviously. SSN is short for Social Security number. Now this is specific by region. Depending on where you live, they may ask for a different number. Next up is date of birth. Like the move-in date, you can go text, only numbers, or both, depending on your preference, but usually it's only numbers, okay? Next up is the email. It's the same thing with date of birth and move-in date. And lastly is phone, which is obviously strictly number. Now we have these 3 sections over here. Since we don't need to fill out anything, all we need to do is to understand the words. So, own or rent. Well, this is a rental application form. We want to rent. And pets, yes or no, depending, right? And vehicles, let's say cars, motorcycles, motorbikes, any form of transportation that you own. So you can either go yes or no. We have rent amount once again, just like here. the money that you have to give to the seller, right? Or give to the person who's renting out the property. Next up is length of time at current address. Current here means the place that you're living in right now. Length of time is asking how long have you lived there, right? So you could give it a number, numbers only. Next up, over down here, we have pets, and description. So this is the description of the pets. If you have any, let's say you have a cat, you can say, oh, I have like a black cat that's like 2 months old, for example. So depending on what you write, this is text and numbers. Next up is vehicles, description. And for vehicles, you can say, oh, I have a motorbike that's like pretty small. So it's usually text-based. To the last part, we have other occupants, if any. So this is optional and it's depending on your situation. Now, what does the word occupants mean? If you live in a place, you are the occupants of that place, okay? The persons that's living there. And down here we have name, obviously text, and age, obviously numbers, okay? So that's it for the first part of our exercise. Let's move on to the second part. Talking about a place you stayed at, why you stayed there, who you stayed with, and what you did while you were there. So talk about a place you stayed at, why, who, and what you did there. I'm going to give you an example. I used to stay in the Philippines, right, for education. So that's a place that I've stayed. Well, it's a country. Why I stayed there? Well, I stayed there because I want to pursue education. I want to study there. So that we've handled the why already. The next up is who I stayed with. I stayed with my friends and my family, okay? And what I did while I was there. So obviously I went there for education, so I studied. I also went to the mall. I gone, a little bit of vacation and whatnot, talked to the people. So that's how you handle a conversation, talking about a place you've stayed at, why, who, and what. All right? I hope that, you get the gist of that. Let's move on to the last part, which is pronunciation. Application. Application. Pets. Pets. Vehicles. The H is silent. Vehicles. Agent. Agent. Rent. Rent. Rental. Rental. Amount. Amount. Referred. Referred. That's it for today's lesson. Our next topic is going to be a dive into reading number 2, a continuation of what we've already studied. So I hope that you learned something new. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Learn today, better tomorrow. Thank you for watching and see you next time.